Archbishop, thank you so much for meeting with me today. You won't know this, but I actually heard you speaking about water at an event in London some years ago.
Okay.
And then I know you've been through the drought situation in Cape Town recently. So I know that water is something that's very close to your heart. I write about the Cape Town situation in the Archbishop of Canterbury's Lent book, but can you tell us a little bit more about that, how it was from your view, from your perspective?
Thank you so much. I just want to start by saying water is sacred, and regrettably we're treating it as a commodity. And the Cape Town situation showed us that we need to treat water with dignity, because we experience what we call a 1 in 300 years drought, where the city of plus or minus 4 million people was told in April that in a couple of months the taps were going to be turned off because we will reach what we call day zero. And there were plans that the police were going to be deployed to strategic area just in case people were going to fight for water. It was quite scary.
Oh, it must have been
it was
terrifying.
Quite scary, terrifying. Where we were told how many liters we could use per day per family, and there were some places where the taps actually ran dry. But it also highlighted a critical thing that from the faith perspective that we miss, that yes, there was water scarcity, but there was the issue of water justice, that some people in Cape Town on a day-to-day live with day zero.
And what would you like to see the church involved with in terms of Cape Town and the water issues there? Where would you like to see it having more of an impact?
I think one of the areas would be where we understand policy around how the municipality and the government handles issues of water. We're quite silent. We were reactive. We wanted things to change. We wanted the farmers to provide water. But we need to understand how the municipality take this God-given gift and handle it and give it to us. Because at the moment, in terms of water justice, we have a situation where the municipality that gets this beautiful community, and those that are the poorest of the poor, who during the day zero era did not have much water, did not have much in their lives, were getting little. Now those that live on the other side of the railway line next to the mountains still ran their swimming pools with only 5 children, and the ones in the townships had one communal tap which ran dry. And I think the church needs to really look at the issues of justice around water distribution and issues of justice around provision of water.
Part of chapter 2 in Saying Yes to Life is a biblical reflection on water. Do you have a particular scripture based on water that has spoken to you, that means a lot to you?
Yes, my favorite one is Revelations 22. I think it's just a beautiful poetic scripture which talks about the river of life, and in that river of life flowing, then there's a tree that grows in the middle, and that tree is for the healing of the nations, because in that imagery one could see, yes, river coming from Table Mountain, if I may say, flowing into that place, and then there's a tree, and the tree gives fruit, and I see now the healing of the nation being, just let me stay with just the literal interpretation of the tree of life. A tree holds the soil together, so there's no soil erosion. The seed transforms all the carbon dioxide into the air that we want. The tree gives shade, and the tree gives fruit to feed the nation. So you can actually see that from that imagery, we have this gift from God that sustains humanity. And so we are called as those who take our baptismal water seriously to create the river of life to those that are impacted by climate injustice, those that are impacted by climate change, to bring life to creation that is groaning. And the Pauline take on creation that is groaning is also very powerful imagery for me, because it is a text that talks about maybe where we need to intervene because creation is groaning, but equally that if we act together, creation will have water flowing, and that water that is flowing will give, like what we say in the Anglican Communion, marks of mission, will transform the unjust structures, but will also give life to all God's people. But so Revelation is my favorite passage indeed. Okay.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. How do you see poverty intersecting with climate change and water? Can you just unpack that a bit more for us?
Okay. Let's take the case of, I'll just take Namibia again and say Mozambique. Namibia, the poorest, whose economy is based on farming, because of excessive droughts that have never experienced. Now they're having to take their very last source of livelihoods, herd of cattle, and slaughter them en masse because they don't have grass to feed them and because it's dry. So then you see there now climate change and climate, actually I must call it crisis because it's a crisis. Climate crisis is impacting on the poorest of the poor. Now it means they will have to go and move nearer to town centers, and they're required to buy meat, they're required now to rent. Now they've been displaced by climate crisis. Mozambique, Beira, which Graça Machel said is the first town in history that has been submerged in water due to climate change. Now those people used to stay next to some of the rivers. Now they've had to be moved out into higher places, and now their houses are gone, their schools are gone, their clinics are gone. Now they have to rebuild their livelihoods. So again, you see that a natural process of climate crisis, which scientists used to say they will study it, but now they are all agreeing that maybe they don't have the answer because the basis of climate change is greed and recklessness. They say it is a human condition. Now those people affected by that now have to start all over again, and they're the poorest of the poor with absolutely no means to mitigate. Those in Mozambique that had beautiful flats, well structured in higher lying places, they were unaffected by it.
They're fine.
They're fine. They continue life as usual. So you could actually see the disparity there caused by climate crisis.
You, in your role, you get to cross the spectrum of society. You talk to business leaders and government officials. You go to shanty towns, to rural areas, to the suburbs. Where do you see signs of hope?
I think for me, the youth inspire me, and I see signs of hope within the youth. I mean, when I went to the Teze pilgrimage of trusts, I was coming from the synod, and I was just so exhausted. And I got there just literally. I mean, I felt like this is a positive energy here. When we did the youth protest there, and I heard their message. Somebody says, oh, they are quite reckless. I said, no, they are not reckless. They are courageous. They're talking about changing our lifestyle. They're talking about changing policies. They're talking about we as adults stealing their future. I mean, that's where I think my hope resides. I mean, I call annually the mining executive to talk about what we call courageous conversations, but sometimes that we regurgitate our position, or we say our position differently. But one youth member, for example, said, but Archbishop, I don't see any youth member here. The youngest person is 59, and you say we're worried about the future. Invite the youth into this space, and then we can talk. So I think my hope and inspiration comes from the young and the youth, and of course my rhythm of offices every day, Bible reading, retreat, and just taking a walk back, particularly when I go back home in Makgoba's Kloof.
And doing your garden.
Doing my garden, doing my garden just inspires me. But the young are top of the list.
Amen.
Okay, thank you.
Archbishop Thabo,
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're
It's
welcome.
been wonderful.
Thank you so much. Thank you.